Hi everyone, this is a review video for our second lesson for beginning string players. The homework for this week and what we're going to be going over in this video is on pages 5 and 6 in your lesson book, and it's exercise numbers 6 through 11. So on pages 5 and 6, but you can see each little exercise has a title and a number to the left. So you're starting with number 6 and then you're working your way all the way to number 11. So let's start with page 5, and you'll notice that a lot of the things on page 5 look very similar to what you did on page 4. And I should add that I was really impressed with how well everyone played their homework from last week. All of the tunes using the D string and the A string were very well done. But they've added some things to the music that it's important to recognize on page 5. And some of these things we'll come back to and talk about more in future lessons, but I just want to make sure everyone is aware of them. So there's a big yellow box on the top of page 5 that says theory. I think it's good to go through and kind of look at each of the things and make sure that we know what they are. So the first thing is it's going to say some sort of a clef. So if you're a violin, your book will say treble clef, alto clef if you're a viola, and if you're a bass or cello player, it will say bass clef. And you can see it's the little squiggly symbol on the very left side of the staff. And from this point forward, every time you play music for your instrument, there's going to be a clef in front of the notes. That just kind of tells you, for example, on if you're in the treble clef, they're saying, hey, if you have a note on the first line, that's an E. But if you had a different clef there, it wouldn't be an E. And so it's just important that you know for your music what your clef looks like. If you keep going in the yellow box, there's something called a time signature. It's two fours stacked on top of each other. We're going to talk about that more later, so I'm going to skip over that for a minute. But then at the very bottom of the yellow box is something called a double bar. And if you look on all of the exercises on this page, and you'll see there's a little bit of an exception to something that looks different, but they all have this double bar at the end. And whenever there's a double bar at the end of music, that's sort of like saying it's over, the end. You can have, and we'll see in a couple of weeks, you can have a piece of music that's more than one line. And if you do, then there will not be a double bar line at the end of the first line because you're not done. Then you go to the second line, and the double bar line will be at the end of the second line. So if you take a look at number 6 and 7, this isn't anything different than what you did last week. And so I actually said in lessons, I'm going to leave 6 and 7 for you guys to do on your own. That should not be a hard thing to do on your own. But then we're going to look at number 8, because number 8 does have something different. If you see there's another yellow box, and it has something called a repeat sign, and that's when you tab the double bar lines, but there's 2 dots right before them. Anytime you see a repeat sign, it means you're going to go back and play again whatever music you just played. Now, I did give the disclaimer in the lesson that sometimes we won't follow the repeat sign. I might say, hey, we're going to play number 8, but we're not going to repeat, just to save time in a lesson or something. But this was our first exercise using a repeat sign, so I wanted to make sure we practiced this. So we're going to play number 8 together right now. You're going to play all 4 measures. When you get to the end, you're going to repeat back to the beginning and do it again. So let's play number 8. Have my instrument up, however you hold your instrument, the proper technique that we went over for your instrument in our lesson. Make your L for your pizzicato and set your index finger on the D string. So here's number 8. 1, 2, here we go. D, D, rest, rest, A, rest, rest, D, rest, A, rest, D, A, D, repeat, D, D, rest, rest, A, rest, rest, D, rest, A, rest, D, A, D. Excellent. So, see how you actually ended up playing the whole thing twice because of the repeat sign. And if you look at number 9, it's the same thing. So number 9, I'm going to leave you to do on your own. And now I'd like everyone to flip to page 6, because this is where things start to get a little bit interesting, because if we just went based on the notes that you've learned so far, all of your open strings, you'd only have 4 notes to play on your instrument, and that's it. which would get pretty boring pretty fast. And so starting this week, we've started talking about putting fingers down on the string to change the pitch of the string. Now this is a little bit different for every instrument, and so just stick with me, and I promise I'll address every single instrument. But what I'd like everyone to do is to take a look at the yellow box on the top of page 6 for you. And one thing that you'll see is it kind of looks like we call it a fingering chart, but it sort of looks like they took your instrument and cut it from here to like here, and that's all you're seeing. And you can identify and see which string they have you putting fingers on, and you should all see that they're having you put fingers down on the D string. You should also all see that your finger numbers, or your fingers, are labeled with numbers, and this is one thing that's consistent across all instruments, is that your thumb doesn't get a number, your index finger is 1, then 2, 3, 4. So when I say put your second finger down, I want you to put your middle finger down. When I say put your fourth finger down, I want you to put your pinky down. So important to know 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? You'll also see that when they have you put fingers down, they've told you what the notes are called for each finger. So violins and violas and cellos, you'll see that on your D string you can also play the notes E, F sharp, and G. Bass is a little bit different. You can play the notes E and F sharp. So you could look right now, and this would be a good thing to memorize for next time, to figure out which fingers play which note. So if I put just one finger down, what will it play? If I put 3 fingers down, what will it play? And the 2 notes that we worked on this week, and you can see in numbers 10 and 11 on this page, they're G and F sharp. And so it's going to be really important that next week you come in knowing how to play those notes. And so we're going to go over that right now. The first thing for everyone to know is before you put fingers down on the strings, it's important that you put your thumb in the right spot. So violins and violas, you all have a little sticker on the side of your fingerboard where I want you to put your thumb. Now I don't want you to be giving me a thumbs up like this, where you're like cradling it in your thumb. I just want your thumb really gently resting against that sticker. Like I could almost just come and take it off because it's so gently resting there. And it doesn't need to be bent or anything strange like that, just kind of chilling there on that sticker. Cellos and basses, you have a sticker on the back of your neck, and it's the exact same thing that I was saying for violins. You're not squeezing it, and you're not bending your thumb. It's just hanging out right here on the back of your instrument. So side for violins and violas, back for cellos and basses. The other thing is that when you put fingers down, you want to have nice curved, rounded fingers, and you want to press down with the tip of your finger, not the pad of your finger. So you don't want flat fingers. So just to give you an example, I want your fingers to look like this, not like this. And it's tough for some students if they're double jointed, but for the most part, even people who are double jointed should be able to be on their fingertips with nice curved fingers. So we're going to talk about, like I said, how to play that note G. I'm actually going to work backwards from the biggest instrument to the smallest instrument, because for bass, this is super simple. For bass, that note G is your open G string. And I know every other instrument also has an open G, but we're not playing that. This is a different G. That's one thing you'll find in music. There's a lot of notes that share names, but there might be, like for example, most of you are playing your higher G right now, and then you have a lower G string. So, but for bass, you're just playing the string name G, so you don't have to put any fingers down. Cellos, you're going to put all 4 fingers down, and when you do that, you're going to follow the stickers that I have for you on your instrument. You'll notice that there's only 3 stickers, and that's because your second finger goes in between the first 2, and you can kind of see that on your fingering chart. So you're going to put down your first finger and then your second finger right after that. The third finger is going to be on that second line that you have, and then your pinky. And I know it's really tough pressing down on that string, but you just have to build some strength in your hand. Don't overdo it so you hurt yourself, but if you just avoid doing it, you're never going to be able to do it properly. So just setting down 1, 2, 3, 4, making sure every finger is on the sticker. If they start to clump together like this, then you're going to be in trouble later. So make sure that they're all spread out the way they're supposed to be, and making sure that thumb is back where it needs to be. Violins and violas, it's exactly the same thing for you guys. You have the exact same thing. That for violins and violas, it's 3 fingers on the D string, and you'll notice that you have on your stickers a space between your first and second finger, and then close for your second and third finger. And so it's important that when you put your fingers down, that you have one, your space to two, and then your close third finger. Okay, so everyone right now can find how to play that note G. So set your fingers down, make sure that they're spaced out properly, and then we can play together number 10. Okay? By the way, if you're not pressing hard enough when you pluck, it's going to sound like this. You're going to get almost no sound to come out. So you really need to make sure that you are pressing really hard, and then you get a nice tone. You will, and this is normal, you will get little lines. I don't know if you can see on the video. Yep. You will get little lines on your fingertips, and that's normal. That's just part of being a string player. So set those fingers down. We're going to play number 10 together. So for most of you, it's fingers on the D string. We're going to pluck the D string. Okay? Bass, you're playing open G. So 1, 2, here we go. G, 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 rest. G, 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 rest. G, 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 rest. And you'll notice in number 10, they do not label all the notes. They're starting to transition you into being able to read your notes. So you can look at the spot where your G is. Ask yourself for your clef, is it a line note or a space note? And which line or which space is it in? And obviously this whole example, they're all G's. And so next time you have a G in an exercise, hopefully you'll have an easier time recognizing it after reading number 10. And then we're going to take a look at number 11. Now we're reading the note called F sharp. Okay, we're going to go through how to play this note with your instrument. Violins and violas, you already had 3 fingers down. All you have to do to make F sharp is take your third finger off. Third finger comes off. Now you have 2 fingers down and you're playing an F sharp. Again, making sure you have that nice beautiful space between your first and second finger. Cellos, you had 4 fingers down. All you have to do is take your pinky off. Most students are very happy when I tell them to take their pinky off because they don't like playing with their pinky. And bass, this one is tough for you. This is the first note where you had to put fingers down. On your D string, you're going to see a sticker for 1. You're going to put your first finger down. And then you're going to have only one other sticker, and that's for your pinky. So second and third fingers don't really have a place yet, but you're going to put those down to help you press the string down, and then have your pinky in that spot, making sure that your first finger's on the 1 and that your fourth finger's on the second tape, and that you're really stretched out with a nice hand frame. Again, like the cellos, you don't want your fingers to squish together or you're going to have a problem. So bass players, really looking out, nice spread out hands like this. Okay, I'm pressing really, really hard. Again, probably the toughest of what anyone has is the bass players. So the bass players, you guys have the hardest job in the lesson this week, learning that note F sharp. So right now, everyone find your note F sharp, put your fingers down, whatever instrument you're playing, the proper number of fingers, and we're going to play it together. Again, make sure you're pressing hard enough or you're going to get this weird wonky sound like this. So here we go with number 11. Ready? Here we go. F, F, rest. F, 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 rest. Good. So one of the biggest things this week is just making sure that you are comfortable and that you can make the sound on those G and F sharp notes. Okay? I know it's tough, but it's one of those things that if you don't practice it, then you're never going to get it, because it really just takes some time to build up the strength in your hand and also to just be able to feel the proper place for your fingers to go and how to do that. So we're all going to be working really hard on that together this week. When you come back, we will review all the homework exercises and then move on to something else really exciting. So happy practicing, have a great week, and I will see you at your next lesson.